Welcome, everyone. Excited to see you. We have a packed house for this session. I'm excited to welcome Nicole up to the stage for her session. She is clearly an excellent researcher because she forages and eats mushrooms from across the California coast and lives to tell about it. I'm excited to welcome her up to share a little bit more about research methods for startups. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Nicole, and I'm a user researcher for Instagram's business product teams. And I'm really excited to be here today to talk about a topic that means a lot to me and will hopefully be really meaningful and useful for you as well. I'm going to give you guys some user research methods that are fun, easy to do, and will help you address the problems that are pretty common to startups and developers like yourselves. So first of all, why do user research in the first place? So behind every successful product, there are three key ingredients. The first one is technology. Every successful product out in the world has been built on the smart and thoughtful use of technology. Now, given we are all here at F8, I'm guessing this is an ingredient that we feel pretty passionate about inherently. Now, the second ingredient is a viable business model. Successful products have to survive in the creative marketplace, in the competitive marketplace. They are viable. The third ingredient is desirability. So successful products, they really need to solve real people problems. They provide real human value. People want to use them. They fulfill real user needs. So what I'm here to help you with today, the combination of these three ingredients, they're what turn great ideas into really successful and sustainable products. So what I'm here to help you with today is to work on the desirability element. I feel like the desirability element is one that is really hard to get right, but also really critical to get right. And it's through thoughtful user research that can actually get you there. So let's do a quick show of hands. How many of you here have formal training as a researcher? So I'm guessing most of you do not. Now, guess what? Neither do I. I'm actually not a trained researcher. But I've become an expert in user research because of a lot of hands-on experience that I've had listening to people throughout my career. So a little bit about me and where I started. My first job after college was as a customer service rep at a startup. And here I learned two really important lessons. So the first was how important it is to really listen to people and how to actually listen to people. And the second was how energizing it felt to actually know the people that were using the products that we were building every day. After that, I spent some time working at design firms where clients hired us to help them think more creatively about their products so that they could redesign them and make them more desirable for users. And work worked every single time, and what always got people really creative and where the best creative ideas came was when I put people that built the products in the same room as the people who use the products. And now I work at Instagram, where I lead an amazing team of UX researchers who are helping build the tools that millions of businesses use today. So as you can see, while I haven't had formal training, it's my hands-on experience working with users over the years and my passion for building really desirable products that have gotten to me where I am. So I basically feel like I hacked my way into user research, and you guys can do the same thing. Now, let's do another quick show of hands. How many of you have tried or considered doing user research yourselves? OK, good. So I'm guessing that for many of you, you probably started off Googling UX research, and you probably saw a lot of articles about the methods appearing behind me. Now, these are all really solid, tried and true user research methods. They form the foundation of our discipline. But our toolkit is actually much, much broader than this. And at Facebook and Instagram, we use a lot of methods that require a lot of skill and expertise, especially for our mature products. And that's because when we need to take a pretty scientific approach when we're working with products that can change the world and impact the world at the scale that we do. But when we are working on early stage startups or early ideas, we use methods that more viscerally spark our thinking and fit better with a rapid iterative approach. So that's where I think you guys should start. As new researchers working on new-to-the-world ideas, you need creative energy and direction that only hands-on exposure to people are going to be able to get you. You need it fast, and you need to do it with limited resources. So how do you start? Luckily, you've come to the right talk. I've selected 3 methods today that are going to be really useful for you. They're going to be fun, lightweight, easy to do, and again, will answer some of the biggest problems and questions that you have. So the first one is going to help you identify ways to get more people to use your product. The second one will help you understand people's biggest needs. And the third one will help you see where your product could fit into people's lives so you could design for more use cases. So let's get started. So this is likely a challenge you are all very familiar with. How do you get more people to adopt your product? Now, to get some insight into this, which are kind of one of the questions you might want to ask yourself is trying to understand what is holding people back. So how do you get to this, though? This is a hard question for people to answer. One, they may want to spare your feelings, and they don't want to tell you the truth. They may not have a clear reason, so they don't know how to articulate it. Or they may have an existing solution already, and so just aren't willing to try your product out. So how do you get to this? Try a method called group debates. So how this works, you assemble 2 groups of people together. Active users or advocates of your product, so people who've used it quite a bit, and then potentials. So people who are aware of your product but aren't using it, or maybe there's someone who has used it before and is no longer using it. Get them in a room together and have them debate their positions. What's great about this method is you get more extreme positions and reactions when you pair these groups together. You'll get stronger signal and faster than doing one-on-one interviews or more traditional focus groups. It also allows you to see in real time what messages are resonating with the non-users and what messages are not. It's also really engaging to watch. You can get a lot of team members in the room with you. So when should you use this method? So this is best used when the product has some maturity. You actually need some active users to make this method work. It also works really well for products or larger features because you're trying to get at the value of your overall experience. This isn't going to work for smaller features or workflows, so keep this in mind. So let's talk about how you would actually make this work. So first, find a few people for each side. 3 to 4 non-users, 3 to 4 advocates, and get them in a room together. Providing snacks will often provide a nice ambiance. Then set up the debate. Give each side a few minutes to work on their arguments together, have them present each side, and then open it up for discussion. And then observe the arguments and reactions for both sides. So we've used this method at Instagram before. A growth researcher wanted to better understand how people used Instagram and what held people back. So she set up a few focus groups that used this debate method. And she heard things like, from the non-users, I use Facebook already. I already have a way to connect with my friends and family. Then on the other side, people would say something like, you should try Instagram because it's a great way to find fun and interesting stuff. She heard people say things like, okay, what? Oh, I follow a lot of knitters, and I really like the how-to videos that they post. So after hearing this dialogue several times, she knew that we had an opportunity to position Instagram not only as a place to connect with your friends and family, but also as a place to connect with people who share your interests. So there you have it. You have your first user research method. Let's go on to our second one. So another product challenge that's pretty common to early stage startups is how to decide what to build first. What are those essential building blocks to get people to fall in love with your product right away? So to get some insight here, what you need to understand is what people really need. But as you can imagine, asking people what they really need is a tough question for them to answer. So one is they'll often give you kind of product fixes, but not really ideas for products that will drive really incremental value. They also can't really articulate easily what they need. It gets kind of mixed in with what they want. It's a hard question to answer. And then it's also hard to get a sense of what needs are the most salient, which are the ones that are going to actually give you the most bang for your buck. So what do you do to get to this insight? Try participatory design. So this is a hands-on interactive approach where you ask people to draw their ideal solution for a problem that your product is trying to solve. So for example, if you're creating a way for people to put together a shopping list with their families, ask people to design their ideal app for that. Now, I'm not saying you should take what they're designing and actually build it. That's still your job. What you're actually getting at here is not the what they drew, but the why they drew. What is their underlying motivation to have the particular feature that they designed? So what's really great about this particular method is that, one, it gets people to express how they feel about information and interactions in a very tangible way. You're basically having them write their needs down on paper for you. It's also a lot of fun for the user. They get to feel like they're part of your creative process, which is always a great way to get people excited about what you're offering. So when is it a good time to use participatory design? So this is really good before your team has put pen to paper, or when you may be considering a redesign, but you're not really sure how to get started. This is also a really good feature, or really good method, when you've got a lot of features that you guys are thinking about developing, but you're not sure which one is going to drive the most value for the users. So how do you actually make this happen? So first thing is, it's always really good to do a bit of a warm-up exercise. I think people are usually very excited to design for you, but they often need just a little bit of a push. So ways that you can do this is to show them something you've drawn yourself. You could do a quick drawing exercise with circles and boxes, or have a template ready. Second, ask them to make design. Ask them to draw their ideal app. Have them draw features and then write descriptions of what those features should be doing. And then listen to why they've made the design decisions that they have. Again, it's not about the button and where the button is. It's about what the need that the button is trying to fulfill. And then finally, this is actually a good task as well, is ask them to list which features they would use the most. This is going to give you an idea of the needs that are the most salient. So we've used this at Instagram as well. One of our designers wanted to understand and identify opportunities to improve profile pages, which is a pretty important feature that people use to express who they are on Instagram. So she asked them to come up with designs, and people came up with designs like these. Now, you'll notice that while these designs look different, they both include a place where people can post pictures and videos that only their best friends could see. And she saw this design or this feature come up various times in her interviews. So it looks like there was a pattern here, and she had identified a clear need. So this work points to an opportunity for us to enable places where we can have more private sharing on Instagram, and we are exploring solutions to help address this need. So now you have two new user research methods in your pocket. You've got participatory design for understanding what people's biggest needs are, and you have group debates to understand what's holding people back. So on to our last research technique. Now imagine you've got a pretty solid product. You've got active users, but you want to encourage more usage. You want to make your product more sticky. So to find opportunities to do this, you need to understand how your product fits into people's lives. Now, again, a natural inclination here is to ask people how and when they use their product. But people are notoriously bad at accurately reflecting their behaviors. So if you asked me, for example, how often I check Instagram in an hour, I'd probably say like 5 times. But it's actually probably grossly inaccurate. Plus, there's some nuances. I may actually check Instagram more during the evening than during the daytime, or only when I'm in a particular mindset or in particular context. So this inaccurate answer could then lead to missed opportunities to adapt your product for those specific use cases. So how do you get to accurate, honest signal about what people are actually doing with your product? Try in-the-moment snippets. So this method works by asking people to interact with your product as they normally would over a certain period of time. And then every time they do use your product, ask them to take a screenshot or a photo or a video of their environment. And then later that day, ask them a few questions, like what they were doing right before, what did they do after, why did they do that action in the first place, or who they were with. So what's great about this method is, one, you get fresh impressions in the moment of product use, and you're doing it in a way that's not intrusive to the user. You also get a more holistic understanding of how your product is being used. You also get more data points over time. So when is it best to use this particular method? So this is best to use when your product has been launched, and it's something that people use over a period of time. So tax preparation software, for example, might not be a great candidate for in-the-moment snippets because people use it once a year. But if you're working on something that's trying to help change people's daily behavior, that could be a good candidate. It's also a really good method when your product relies on certain environments to be useful. So when you're out and about or on the go or in a particular environment. And then finally, this is a great method when you want to understand how your product fits into an overall workflow. So you can decide if you want to design features to better support the experience upstream or downstream. So how do you make this happen? So first, invite a pretty healthy number of people to participate. You may anticipate, or you should anticipate, some drop-off, so keep that in mind. Then ask people to send screenshots, videos, photos, etc., of moments as they happen. Make those capture moments pretty quick and snappy. And a couple ways that you can collect this information. Email is a really easy one. You can also use messaging products like WhatsApp, Messenger, and set up one-on-one chat conversations so they can send you this data as it's happening. Then finally, dive a little bit deeper into the interactions or the examples that are the most intriguing to you. So how have we done this at Instagram? So we in the business team are often thinking about how we can better connect consumers and businesses together. So one researcher wanted to understand why people used direct messaging to reach out to businesses. So he invited 30 people to email him screenshots every time they initiated a conversation with a business over the span of 2 weeks. People sent him over 180 screenshots. He took a look at them as they came in, picked out the ones that had the most intriguing moments, and then followed up with people who sent those conversations so he could dive deeper. So one insight that came from this work was that people really love to use direct messaging to reach out to small businesses because they love the possibility of actually reaching that business owner behind the exciting product that they saw. So this means that as we scale our business products, we need to be really thoughtful about how we preserve this really personal feeling of connection that people feel with small businesses. So there you have it. You now have three user research methods in your back pocket. So first, you have group debates, which are a great way to understand what holds people back from using your product so you can get more. Participatory design can help you figure out people's most important needs so that you can make sure that you're designing the right features. And then finally, in-the-moment snippets help you understand how your product fits into people's lives so that you can design for those hidden use cases. So in addition to these three tools, I want you to walk away with three other ideas. So one is nail desirability by listening to people. I guarantee that you will create desirable products if you invest the time and energy into listening to your users. Second, don't be afraid to do user research. Yes, there are methods out there that take skill and expertise to do, but that's not your goal right now. You guys are new researchers working on new-to-the-world products, and so what your job is to fuel and ground the creative thinking of you and your teams. And now you are equipped with three methods that you can do without a trained researcher. But do hire a trained researcher as soon as you have the resources to do that. And then finally, have fun. Pick one of these methods and make the leap. Go flex your research muscle, and just like me, you'll get hands-on experience as you use more and more methods and as you talk to more and more users. This is just the first step in a long journey, so enjoy it. So, thanks. So if you'd like to learn more, come and find me. I'll also be at the research booth, or shoot me an email, or reach out to me on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everyone. We're going to take a 12-minute break, and we're going to come back at 3 for our next session. Thanks.